Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. As we all know, the new light runner Shanks has been finally released in OPBR. Many players are wondering about the counters of Shanks, so let's make a list of the top 10 counters of Shanks. And secondly, his hockey gets activated if he captures treasure. The hockey time is 17 seconds, which can't be removed. Another trait is KO possible, which is when the enemy is below 30% HP, he will directly get KO, ignoring the other traits of KO evasion. These are the most important traits you need to remember, and on these I created this counter list. So let's begin. The first counter is Dark Roger. Yeah. Firstly, he's a dark element, so would be significantly strong against the light element. Coming to Shanks' trait, he heals 5% while fighting against the element he's strong against, so he won't get that. His skill 2 won't do much damage, and skill 1 has the ignore defense trait, but Roger heals 30% HP when he receives damage above 20% of his max HP. Moving to the second counter, we have Gear 5. Firstly, if you're defending your treasure, you are being a good counter against him, not when you're fighting against outside the treasure area. Luffy has much stacked defense when it comes to defending. Shanks' skill 2 would not do any damage to Gear 5, which I tested during this time. His skill 1 can do damage, but still Gear 5 has a lot of heals and no problem for him. The main thing is, if you get attacked by his skill 1 and you get below 50% HP, you will get recovery block for 45 seconds, which would be very problematic as Gear 5 needs heals. Rest Gear 5 has ignore defense on skill 2, which would be very helpful for a KO against Shanks while capturing treasure. At third, we have Dark Rayleigh. The first reason he's a dark element user, which gives him a plus point as Shanks would not be able to heal on normals. The second reason is his shield. The shield is very helpful avoiding the skills of Shanks. The KO possible trait can be bypassed with the shield. He even nullifies the 1 HP trait which Shanks has. So overall, he might not be able to do much on the defending part in the current meta, but he can counter Shanks easily with these traits. Next, at number 4, we have Jabra. He also has a defensive shield which can help counter the direct KO trait under 30% HP from Shanks. Secondly, he has skills which have damage based on your defense. His skill 2 mostly one shot every time. Using his skill 2 recovers even the shield. So, overall, he would be a very deadly counter for Shanks. According to me, you can easily one-shot him with your skill 2. Just have an HP and defense medal set and you're good to go. Along with skill 1, which reduces the cooldown of skill 2. Moving to the number 5, we have Pacifista. He's a dark element attacker. He got knockback on the third hit of the normal attack, which is quite useful. He also has a shield, which is 5% of the max HP. Secondly, he recovers his shield with knockback. Both of his skills got knockback, and with a pretty good range. His skill 2 is so deadly, which one-shots most of the characters in the current meta. He can definitely be a good counter against Shanks. The main reasons are his element and his shield. Against Black Element, user Shanks won't be able to heal on normal attacks, plus Pacifista gives crazy amounts of damage. At number 6, we have Green Attacker Roger. He got a buff recently, which made him a pretty broken unit for the meta. His Kamusari is invincible, which Shanks doesn't have. Secondly, if he gets a recovery block, then while holding his skill 2, the status effects gets nullified. Both his skills one-shot most of the players. Even the range of both the skills along with the normals are now increased pretty much. There is no way you can hide from Roger in this era. He also heals pretty fast with his skills now, so he can be a pretty good counter unit against Shanks. Well, he will KO you if you're below 30% HP, and you would definitely get the recovery block with his Kamusari. But if you can avoid it, you're good to go as your Kamusari packs a lot of damage, and at last, Shanks doesn't have much of a defense to counter incoming damage. At number 7, we have Garp. Yeah, I know he is not much usable these days, but he's a counter of Shanks. He got a buff recently, which gave him a trait in which he heals against the enemies, which are captain units like Roger, Shanks, and Luffy. He also reduces the enemy's defense along with increasing his own defense. So he would be very problematic against Shanks. as Shanks is a captain unit. But yes, he might not survive much in the match against other units, so keep that in mind. Moving to the number 8, we have Shiki. He's pretty good to use against Roger and ex-Roger pirates. His skill 1 gives damage of nearly 40% of the max HP. But to Roger and ex-Roger pirates, he gives a total of 70% damage of max HP, which is pretty useful to directly KO the enemy. He would easily one-shot Shanks. He also has one trait to reduce the cooldown of skill 1 by 10% when fighting Roger and ex-Roger pirates. Both these skills made him a pretty deadly counter against Shanks and even Roger, which is destroying the meta, so you may consider using him. Now, at number 9, we have Film Red Yassip. Well, on perfect dodges, he gives 30% max HP damage, which is pretty insane, along with a knockback effect, including a capture block. Shanks would surpass the capture block with his Haki, though, but still, if he's inside, the treasure Shanks won't be able to capture. He also increases the knockback distance by 100%, which is amazing. Secondly, if Shanks is capturing treasure, then he deals 50% more damage, including with his skill 1 cooldown. So, pretty good traits for skilled players to counter him. At last, we have Oni Chopper. He can nullify status effects of his and his teammates with the skill 1 creating a mist area. If he holds his skill 2 inside the mist area, then it would be pretty hard to get him down as everything would be nullified. He also increases enemy's skill cooldown by 10% when hitting enemy 3 times in 5 seconds. His attack also increases to 75%. He can be a pretty good counter to be used against Shanks if used properly. At last, we have a bonus counter, Oni Usopp. I placed him as a counter just because he is the one who can remove the Haki of Shanks with his skill 1 and can make him enter the sleep state. His trait is to remove the status effect from the enemy, and there is no condition such as a parameter buff, which every other character has already. So he would definitely be problematic for Shanks. Well, that's all for today's video, guys. See you in the next one.